But they're going to be.
Good evening. We're going to call to order at 7 o'clock. Remember the session. We have a call. It's time to play. Whoops.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shouldn't be.
Good evening. We often bring some of our champions to speak to you, and often it's in athletics and areas of competition that we're more familiar with. There's many others represented in statewide competition, and we have a couple of our groups here tonight. Some of our students from our Skills USA competition and their instructor, Mr. Molinari, are here, and members of our journalism group are here who competed this past weekend. So I thought I'd ask them to share about their experiences and that type of competition for you tonight. So we'll start with the Skills USA students. They'll introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their experience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Zapranov, and I'm a senior at Downers Grove South. So this is my third year of being in a CTE class and my second year of being in Skills USA. For those of you who don't know what Skills USA is, it's a CTE-centered competition. So there's architecture, computer drafting and design, robotics, mechanics, 3D drawing, the works. So when I started with architecture, Mr. Molinari introduced me to Skills USA and the organization, and along with me and my classmates, he thought it'd be a good idea to get us that real-world experience by taking us to this competition. So basically how we prepared for it was, in class, you learn all the different things that an architect should know, like different building requirements, different software that we use, and basically everything you need to know. And from then on, every day we would work on drawing and planning and designing, which is a great career insight for anyone that's interested in architecture, which I had an interest in. And then from then on, you qualify for the competition by taking this written test about the different requirements and things like that. And then we drive down to Springfield through the cornfields. We get there, and then for 3 hours we sit in front of a computer and we get this big packet of, requirements, and you have a client that wants you to build something for them. So yeah, you make 3D models, you do floor plans, you just go all out. And then at the end of the day, we see how well we did, and South has a pretty good history of doing well. So yeah, that was good. We placed well this year. So that was my Skills USA experience. I'd turn it over to my other teammates.
Hi, my name is Matt Wycheck, and
my name is John Erhilio.
And we also are in the Skills USA Club. We competed in the mobile robotics competition. And we are also co-presidents of the robotics club here at South. So we kind of took that and applied it to the Skills USA to take our robot that we worked on in our club. So how the mobile robotics competition works at Skills USA, like architecture, you're given a client, and this client has a need that your robot needs to fulfill. This year's need was to sort apples, which are basically foam balls, and we needed to get them into different areas. So our robot focused on launching these foam balls into a net. And there were 3 different parts to the competition. Then I think JJ can explain that.
Well, the first part we had, it's separated into different times, but the first part was having a presentation where we try to pitch our product to engineer. The second part is a physics and math test combined to demonstrate our capabilities in making robots, but with the math side to it. And the third aspect was the testing, the actual testing of the robot in a field that is, I believe, 12 by 12 feet. And we have 4 rounds of that. and each round has autonomous and manual mode. And Matthew can explain that.
Yeah, so the actual robot portion, the physical, is actually takes up the most amount of time because in between rounds you're allowed to go and make modifications to your robot in order to improve your score in the previous rounds. So we have to like tweak our code so when the robot is acting on its own, it might go pick up an extra ball or launch it in the correct direction. And then when we're controlling it, we had to work out what's the most optimal path to go and pick up the most balls in this limited amount of time that we have. And for the presentation, we really had to talk about all the aspects of our design, and we had to show them all of our engineering notebook, which includes a bunch of drawings and sketches that like detail how we shaped our robot over time. We ended up doing very well. We placed first this year, and JJ had been doing this in previous years, and he has also another first place and a third place finish. So mobile robotics is doing very well at Souths, and we hope to continue it in future years. So I'll turn it over to our last Skills USA member to talk about.
Question?
Yeah,
Did
yes.
anybody take a video of your robot?
Yeah.
We have a lot of documentation of everything.
Yeah, we have tons of pictures, and we do have videos of our robot in action.
We were talking about the website. Yeah, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, I can actually get those to Mr. Molinari tomorrow, and then he can send them off to the rest of the people to get that on the website. Yeah.
That would be great. And
That would be really neat to see.
Yeah, I'd like to see it for myself.
Yeah, I would
to be
too.
honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely I can do that.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Gatello. I'm a junior at Downers Grove South. I also competed with Emily at the architecture competition at Skills USA. But before that, I also competed with someone from 3D animation and design, where you had to create a 20-second clip about like a storyline. This year's theme was hockey, so they had to make a 20-second clip, and then like through individual frames, they also had to hand draw a storyboard, which was my part in the competition. That's really all I know about that competition, though. The Skills USA Club also participated in IDEA, which is Illinois Drafters Education's Association. And we competed and we placed second and 10th in that competition. It's a lot like the architecture competition in Skills USA, except in this one, it's more like 3D design, I guess. There's different, like they lay it out into different competitions between those.
Wow.
Good evening. My name is Joe Stellato. I'm a senior here at Downers Grove South, and I am the editor-in-chief of print for the Downers Grove South Blueprint.
My name is Wes Davenport. I'm a senior here at Downers Grove South, and I'm the PR manager for the Blueprint.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
Davenport? You didn't know I was coming.
Actually, the past 2 weeks, actually. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, actually, it was the day of our senior prom. We competed in the IHSA journalism sectionals, and we competed at Loyola University. And it has about, I think about 16 events.
Yeah, give or take.
It has about 16 events that all revolve around journalism, whether it's my event, which was sports writing, to yearbook design, news layout, anything between broadcast news, which Wes competed in.
Oh yeah, and the broadcast news is a little different because the competitions are broken up into blocks, so block A and block B. Each block is an hour and a half, but broadcast news, because we have to sit in on a press conference and then also edit a radio broadcast, ours takes up both blocks, so I'm in there for 3 hours. It's the same for photo storytelling, so those are the only two that take up both blocks.
And for my specific event, sports writing, I competed in the B block, which started, I think, at around noon. And I basically was given a prompt or an exam, and it gave me a bunch of information about an athlete, and a couple quotes from different sources, and I basically had to use all that information to compile the best sports story. And I ended up getting first at the sectional, and Wes got second in broadcast news.
Very cool.
Keep going. And we weren't the only ones that came up successful this year. This year we sent down 7 people downstate. Last year we only had 3. And it was pretty nice because when we got sent off to state, we had a little send-off that I did not expect. It was really nice. So when we got sent off, we went to Eastern Illinois University and competed at the state level. There were about 50 schools statewide that were there. And you want to go into depth a little bit?
Sure. So we had, like Joe said, 7 people that we sent with. It was me and Joe, Tessa, Hannah, Michelle,
and Ozma.
And Claire Pekel from the yearbook for photography. Mm-hmm. She kind of killed it. She was getting first and second like everywhere she went. But so we went there, and when we walked in, they had a couple donuts for us, and we sat in on a presentation, just general newspaper information, kind of like a pump up basically. And then they sent us off on our way where we had to find the room in the building that we would start our competitions with if you were in Block A. And because I was both, that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge. So, continue.
And in terms of competition, I can tell you this, it's just as, if not more competitive than any sport I've ever been a part of. I've been in track and field. I'm 4 years on that. I played football and basketball, but I honestly have to say I've had the most competition in the sports writing category. I went up against 21 other kids, and they were quite talented since I didn't place in the top 6. But it was a great experience for me being able to meet new people around the state who are interested in the same thing I am, and seeing them succeed the way they did and the way that our team did. I think it was great. This girl, Ozma, she got second in news writing. She's runner-up for state. Claire, who we mentioned earlier, the photographer, she got second for photo storytelling. Sorry. And our third member, Tessa Brown, she got third place for yearbook caption writing, and she was only doing it for about 3 weeks. And so that was a really great turnout.
She just picked it right up. And so the whole competition was very real-world application. Like I know for Joe's sports writing, it's all very deadline-oriented, so you have that hour and a half, and that's all the time you have to go. So it's kind of like, your editor-in-chief gave you this information, you got to hammer out a story on it. Or for me, the broadcast news, it's really just a radio broadcast. So you sit in on a press conference, and then in 3 hours, you got to kick out a little news story about what you heard in the press conference. So it's very, very real world application in the competitions.
And do you guys have any questions about any of the competition, how it's scored?
Just for any of you, are you going to go on to do robotics later on in school? Or are you going to do sports broadcasting or sports writing or architecture? Are you planning on using your skills? This is for any of you.
I'm going off to study electrical engineering, so not quite robotics, but I hope to get involved in some clubs at my
Close,
school.
right. Good.
I still have one more year. I'm still junior right now. I'm planning to compete again next year.
Good. Uh-huh.
I'm not planning to major in architecture, but maybe minor or at least join some architecture clubs in college.
Uh-huh.
I'm planning on majoring in architecture, yet I'm still only a junior. I founded the architecture club, and hopefully that'll get a bigger start next year.
Good.
I'm going to be going into business management, so not really broadcast news.
You never know.
I'll be going to the University of Illinois Chicago to major in English and hopefully double major in journalism.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Well, you know what, I just would like to say, and I'm sure I speak for everybody, which I rarely do, but we are so proud of you, and thank you. And for all the times that we slog through budgets and other just really not exciting stuff, this is so wonderful to hear. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And next time, bring movies. Videos
I just
of
have a
your-
comment
Yeah,
too.
bring the videos with you.
This isn't
Ray.
surprising, the success. I mean, I probably speak again for all of my fellow colleagues up here, but I thoroughly read the blueprint. I look over
Yes.
your yearbook. We watch the news. You know, when my daughter comes home, I always watch that the news that you
Oh, the
put
video
on. I
announcement.
love that.
Great.
It's
The
hysterical. It's
broadcast news is
wonderful.
great.
You all are so talented. Sometimes it amazes me that you all are only between like the ages of 16 and 18. It's astounding. But it's not surprising. Okay,
Thank you.
after everything that
Thank
I've
you.
seen and read and watched for. So
Thank you.
congratulations to all of you.
And to their coach.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the 2017-18 calendar recommendation?
I think this is quite exciting.
Calendars.
We've been talking about calendars more this past
He wants to
year
get this over with.
than any time in the past that I can recall. We spent several months looking at potential calendar for the 16-17 school year that would end the first semester before the winter holiday break. We eventually came to the conclusion that we weren't quite ready to do that, but the board's direction, or at least the majority of the board, that committee went back to work to create a calendar that would end before the holiday break in the 17-18 school year. What I have projected and what I've written the board about is the recommendation from the committee. Now, we're all aware that ultimately this is the board's decision. Our job is to give you a recommendation. There are clearly places that this can be tweaked, but and tonight is the time that we'd like to have a discussion because we'd like to bring it forward for the final vote at the May board meeting in 2 weeks. To recap for those watching, do not have all the materials the board has had. On this calendar, the first day of school is August 18th. We have Labor Day, Columbus Day, day before Thanksgiving. As holidays, we also in the second semester we have, which begins on January 8th, we have Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, and we actually eliminated, but we had to eliminate Pulaski Day because we found an error in the calendar. We had to put a day back in, but it does include the Memorial Day. Spring break is actually 6 days on this calendar. I think Good Friday occurs during spring break. Veterans Day, which is typically a non-attendance day for us, occurs during a weekend. So that's not pictured in this calendar. One of the things that we spent a lot of time discussing is when we should have parent conferences, and frankly, what they should look like. And we came to the conclusion we can't determine what they should look like yet, but we do recommend that it's much earlier than it has been. The 4th of October seems like a legitimate night to do that. We would prefer, frankly, to have that, the conferences on a Thursday night instead of midweek. But one of the things we found as a challenge is once you move from early November, which is sort of a dead period for athletics and concerts, and things that occur on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Once you move back into September and October, those are full on Tuesday and Thursday nights with all the above. So that's why we landed on a Wednesday at this point in time. We can make a change in that, of course, between now and 17-18 school year. At the end of the year, our final exams in 2018 are on May 22nd, May 23rd, and May 24th. Right now, graduation is on the the 25th, but that's another topic that we spend a lot of time talking about, whether we want to continue to do that on Friday night or potentially move it to a weekend day. Frankly, there are some advantages and disadvantages to both. And we had some really good discussion, but again, we thought it's just not enough time. Don't really have enough voices at this time to really give a firm recommendation. We recommend that both conferences and graduation be an ongoing committee next year. I would like to say that I very much appreciated the effort of the people that were involved in the calendar committee. And especially given the fact that we sought input several times from the teachers and several times from parents, and then we also included the elementary, middle school parents in the second time around with the survey. There was a much different sense that people were able to give their input into it, whether their ideas were eventually adopted or not. They had a sense that they were contributing to this process, and they appreciated that. I heard that from a number of different people, so
Good.
I thought that was significant. So this is our recommendation. I do want to point out, and this is one of the caveats of this, perhaps something the board wants to discuss. This shows December 22nd as an emergency day. That's in the case there's a snow day on the 20th or 21st. There's mixed feelings about that, but that's where the committee landed. And again, we did work with the elementary school districts in terms of how to make this as acceptable to their schedules as possible. We really wanted to, given a choice of alternatives, it was better to align our winter holiday break than the beginning of school.
Yeah.
Obviously trying to push back the beginning of school as late as possible. Or get the beginning of school as close as possible to September as possible.
Go ahead. Sorry. She had her hand up.
I guess my thought is thank everyone for all the hard work that they put into this, because it's really complicated. But my only thing is I guess I just don't like starting school on a Friday, and I'm not sure we would really use an emergency day all that much in the first semester. I would suggest starting school on the 22nd for the students.
And
eliminate that.
22nd?
You mean the 21st? Monday the 21st?
Yeah,
yes,
you don't want to
I'm
skip
sorry,
2 days.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm looking at there's no
Saturday
and Sunday on there.
There are no weekends on this calendar.
Yeah, and you know what, that might help with the
Then
letter
go
that we
get them
got
over the
from
weekend. I'm right there with you.
the park districts on different
Right.
activities that they
They've had a year
do,
and a
and
half
then
to
that
plan.
would give them the weekend
Their vacation.
to do more with that.
What was the rationale of starting on Friday like that?
So they could have the emergency.
I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why.
Yep.
I like it because when they go, that's not a day that they're going to be doing a lot in the classroom, other than they're going to be getting all of their list of supplies from
And
their
syllabuses.
teachers and syllabuses and everything else. And then they have the weekend to go get
That's true.
everything, and then they can
And get
start right
organized.
on Monday and get
Yeah.
organized. Yeah, they
And
get
hit
organized.
the week running. Because you've had a year and a half to plan your schedule.
It eliminates
So-
another week of vacation for families.
But you've had a year and a half. You've had a year and a half.
Yeah.
Can I,
Ari-
just ask can I just go back and ask
Still
my
does
question? What was the rationale for starting on Friday?
It was twofold. The primary concern was possibility of a bad weather day during finals week.
Yeah.
And if that were to occur, what are the alternatives? And that seemed like a better alternative than the others, which I would presume one would be kids just take their last day of finals on January 8th, which sort of is the purpose of all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another alternative is that, let's say in the event of a snow day, we could have perhaps a late start day. That's difficult to schedule, but I guess we could do that. At the elementary, especially if there was a snow day for the elementaries as well, we could have a later start day. In that, my experience, if we have 2 feet of snow, there is no mitigating circumstance. But the only snow day that I can recall in December, in the 13 years I've worked in District 99, it was the day before the winter holidays. It was probably about a 10-inch snow day. And, you could argue that by noon, we probably could have had school. We couldn't have school. We couldn't have made school 8 o'clock, but maybe at noon we could have. So perhaps there's a way to do that in the afternoon.
And remembering that third day of finals, the last 8th period is always the makeup, right?
When their kids are starting school on Monday.
I don't get
Well, the other,
that. I don't buy that argument at all.
I'm sorry, Mike, I know I'm interrupting, but I think the other issue was that the teachers thought that might be a better, to have that first day on a Friday. And then when school starts, it's actually a full week of school.
Yeah.
Do you get all of that out of the way?
Well, one of the
Thank you.
one of the other issues, I'll echo Don's sentiment that it takes a week away from the vacation. But one of the things that occurred to my wife and I was that if this was this coming year, we'd have a problem because we have to take. We're actually taking Wes to his first day of school drop-off for college. What would be that Friday?
The 18th.
And so I don't know how typical that is.
Yeah, take the day off.
But, but that's,
So to that point, if this were this year, I would be taking my daughter on Monday.
Oh,
The 20th.
on the 20th,
you'd be taking the
21st.
21st. So you'd be all I'm saying is, moving it to the 21st gives that weekend. I think setting aside an emergency day is setting aside a day for highly unlikely
I do too. That first
possibility.
day is all about routine.
Introductions.
Yeah, having the first day on a Friday is kind of nice from a teacher and from a student standpoint, because you can get all the routines, all the paperwork, go home, get it signed, and hit that whole week now can be a solid week
I hadn't thought about that.
out of the gate.
Yeah, I like that.
I get it.
And you need a little room for error just in case. Because would you really want your kids taking the final on December 26th?
No.
Would you want your kids coming back after Christmas?
That was the
On
whole
the
point of
8th.
having these calendars.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we would do that.
Well, when would you finish finals then? Really, 2 weeks?
Because this is one of, when I was asking you, I sent you an email ahead of time, I was asking, well, because I know that this is all so interconnected, what would be the ramifications of starting on the 21st? And so one thing would be we'd lose the emergency day. If it turned out we needed an emergency day, then how would we make that day up? Would we make that day up? But there's a number of ways that we could potentially solve that. There's also been years where we've had a snow day during the year and we never made it up. Is that correct? Have we ever not?
No, we've always
made it up.
I thought I remember once when the kids were younger at 58, when we were at 58, that was the case. But at any rate, I would rather take a chance and get rid of the emergency day so that we could start after the weekend. That would be my preference. And I think from the surveys, knowing that so many parents voiced a concern about the importance of vacations and how starting earlier was
Enough of a
problem.
Yeah, it was a problem, and it remained a major negative in terms of
It's
if you
way
looked at
later
the
than we
survey
thought.
results.
This is
And I think
normally started anyway.
Hold on, let's have one conversation.
not to take away from Rick's point, but I think now with one-on-one, maybe
Well, that's
that
what I
is
was
much
expecting. Yeah.
easier for all of that to be communicated to each student in your class, because
Or is there a possibility that by the time we get to the 2017-18 year, that we might actually be able to have an attendance day vis-a-vis our Chromebooks from home,
Indiana does that.
in which case you don't have to make the day up?
right.
I mean, because we are talking about a year and a half from now before
Right.
this school
Wasn't
year
that
even
in,
start.
wasn't that a bill?
Now, there's a pilot program going on right now, and I think it involves Leiden and West Chicago and elementary school districts. I'm not sure the elementary school district. I think that was a 2-year pilot. I think this year is the first year of it, next year is the second. And I would expect there'd be some sort of legislation
After that.
coming up if it's successful. Now, of course, first year of the pilot, we had no need for.
Of course, so you don't get to see how it works.
I'm not sure. It really wasn't a trial period. However, point well taken. It could be by 17, 18 we have that opportunity. And really, to be honest, I think the biggest concern was missing finals. Not if we lose a day in the first semester,
Yeah, then you really, yeah.
the first semester is 85 days. It's a pretty solid 85 days. And we don't. One of the things we get back, at least theoretically, is you don't have to have it. Not necessarily have as much time after the holidays getting the kids back into the stream of things for 1 or 2 days.
Right.
I think that it's illogical to think there's no time spent on that at this point. So it's an opportunity. We probably preserve some instructional time, at least in terms of keeping kids in the game.
How many days in second semester?
90.
So, Mike, you can't, if you cut another day, it's not fair to the semester classes. You got to keep that into account too. So if I teach a class that's only 1 semester long,
You already
I
lost
already
5
had to give
days.
up a couple days on this calendar. Now I'm going to give up another day of classroom time. There's other things there too.
I had a question on that, Dr. McDonald. So there's the full week's difference between the semesters, 90 days versus 85 days. Is that typical, or are we doing that just to cram in the first semester so that we can take finals before?
It's not typical. That difference is typically not that large.
It's usually 2 or 3 days.
We came up with 85 days as an acceptable number of days. We'll say too, in the second semester we have testing.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
That's varied the last 3 or 4 years. It's varied every single year.
That takes away from the
That,
instructional
in the past, it took 2 days.
What his opinion is. What his kids
This
in
year
high
it took
school.
1, but we don't know what's going to happen next
You
year.
know what I'm saying?
Yes, because I've already been.
So,
I've been to it.
and
I'm
that's
right
always
there with
been part of the justification for having the second semester longer than the first, is that time lost to testing.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, that's,
Well, you know what, I can see the argument about not coming in that Friday. I do understand that argument, but I have to say, I support the committee recommendation
Yeah.
because I think that this group has argued all the 2s and 4s and the froms and the wheres. There's a lot of good reasons not to do it, there's a lot of good reasons to do it. I go with support the committee recommendation to start on the 18th.
I would agree too, because they've spent so much time on it. Question, I know your memo, Mark, said something about that the arts are still trying to figure out how that all fits.
Thank you
With
for
their-
bringing that up.
with their
That's a good
performance
point. I didn't
schedule.
want to miss that. The arts as a group, this probably affects them more than any other group.
Right.
And in part, it's because of the beginning of marching band season in the summer,
Yeah,
which is going to
right.
which will be altered, and that affects, between the 2 schools, that's 400 or 500 kids. That's a lot. Also, it's always their practice to try to have a concert each quarter,
Right,
and
right.
and at the same time not get in the midst of, in the 4th quarter, the AP testing, which occurs during the month of May.
Yeah.
So.
And then there are the holiday
that's another
concerts.
Right.
Challenge. The holiday concerts are
Yeah.
a challenge,
Before finals.
And the art shows,
Yeah.
all of that.
and the shows.
And the plays.
And the-
Now, understanding this was likely going to happen
They've been,
in 17, 18, we started a meeting a couple months ago. And additionally, the 2 of the people who were administrators responsible for the fine arts in the performance calendar are both leaving us, at least
Right.
leaving their roles, and so we wanted to take advantage of their expertise. So the fine arts chairs, the administrators in charge of activities, and a couple other people have been meeting already for a couple months.
Well, I'm sure that's been a concern. But you, as far as you know.
It's kind of a wash with athletics.
Yeah, okay.
Because now there are a number of other schools, there's so many schools that are
They're
in
moving.
the earlier calendar now.
And ours isn't that much.
We're having to
earlier.
we're having to protect two final exams weeks.
That's,
We
yeah,
always started somewhere, like only about a week or so
I start
later.
the 10th or the 11th.
that's a strong point.
I'd start 2 weeks before you guys.
But I'm glad, I knew you were probably already talking about the art schedules.
That was a
but-
given to move to this sort of calendar, that was a given.
Yeah, from the very beginning. But again, I think I would support the committee recommendations because they've thought long and hard about this.
Yeah.
Same here. I do have one other question, though, and that was concerning the day before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And I know if we didn't do that, it would be one less day, but my question always is, when it's a half a day like that, how many
What's the attendance?
call-ins? Yeah, exactly. What is the day really going to be like as far as productivity?
Well, for the first 10 years I worked in District 99, that was a half day. The last
Yeah,
10
that's
years,
right.
It's been an attendance day. So I'm not
I have no
sure how to
skin in the
answer
game.
that. You bring up a good point.
I go a whole day before Thanksgiving, so.
I'm not sure, I can't guarantee you it's going to be, it's obviously going to be different than, a regular school day.
Is it a full day?
No. Because the parent, that's
The-
part of the discussion about parent conferences,
Correct.
because we actually, we lose a whole day of school, and then teachers are also there at night. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, part of that, an early release on that day is to
Compensate.
compensate for the
Right.
time there at night in addition to being there all day on the conference.
Well, I wasn't advocating for a whole day. I was wondering if we should have it at all, which is the opposite. And I have no skin in the game because I don't have anybody here, but that's why I was wondering how productive it was and whether you still really wanted to hold even a half a day of school. That was my only question.
Something to consider.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty short on instructional days as it is.
yeah.
Yeah, half days better than no days. Did anybody, the committee, as far as that day, how was the conversation concerning that day? Since it typically has been off and now it's not.
It's been off the last couple of years.
Right, and that's what I was wondering.
Historically, go back more than 3 or 4 years, we had school that
Did
day.
the committee have to wrestle with that, or was it pretty much, oh, okay?
No, the committee wrestled with that.
They did.
But the idea was to, again, to minimize the days off, because that, every day we take off pushes the start of school back.
Sure.
Well, I would say compromise. Start on the 18th, get rid of the extra day.
No, the 21st.
Or the, no, start on the 18th.
Oh,
No,
okay.
17th.
Like the calendar says, but
I agree.
if we decide we don't need the extra day on the 22nd, then that gives you the ability to have the 22nd of November off altogether.
Right, but you wouldn't know that. You
Right.
might end up having to use that
No,
day.
but I
And then
mean
December
now.
may come along.
To discuss it, maybe,
But you're taking the chance of giving up that snow day.
right.
Well, another alternative, if this is doable by
Push final back
fall
a
of
day.
2017, is not have the same parent conference format, not give up a whole day
I think they should think about
after
that.
that.
We should
That's an
think about that.
opportunity as well.
And I can remember years ago, that half day before Thanksgiving was parent-teacher conferences,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. So teachers were hanging around for those
That's so
conferences.
late in the game.
Exactly.
That's way too late.
Not
in the
really
first
helpful for
semester.
kids.
No.
No, but it
No.
was that, and that's why they made the change, I guess, but.
So I think we should probably put parent-teacher conference on the parking lot so that we bring it up.
Well,
For the staff.
Part of the recommendations of the committee was that they continue to study that aspect of it.
Just so we don't
And so,
lose
okay.
they're going to revisit that then, right? The committee?
And the arts.
Yeah, I just wouldn't be opposed to
too.
having that
I
day
would
off
just
before
propose
Thanksgiving.
that.
That wouldn't bother me if the teachers wanted it off.
My child's job is to go to school.
The
So-
half-day's not bad, though.
The fact that she goes
I go till
to
3 o'clock.
It is if you're
Thanksgiving,
the one
I
who's
have no
making
less
and
expectation than that.
having all of your company
If
come
it's
over the
really
next
as
day.
important to me that she be with me,
Or
for
you might
whatever
travel
reason,
out of
going out of town
town.
or whatever, I would, and she would
Just
feel
thinking.
comfortable.
The real world has to work that day.
So, I have no trouble now. That's
true.
That's what we do.
Or take a vacation day.
I take a vacation.
Call your kid out.
I know,
Is that
it's all
important?
the time.
Call your kid out.
On both ends of the table.
So I'll just say, as I look forward,
We're starting
I
the
think that
17th.
You know,
I think that there's a large number of at least parents in the community that are going to say, "Geez, I can't believe we're starting school on a Friday." And I see a scenario where we're doing this for the sake of having an emergency day that's most likely not going to be needed. That there's a chance that even if an emergency day was needed, by the time we get to the 17-18 school year, it potentially could be handled through our one-to-one program from home. Potentially, there's that potential.
True.
And then also by the time we get to the 17-18 school year, there may be a decision not to have parent-teacher conferences taking a day away. So I see more reasons to start on the 21st than the 18th. Just statistically, there's the chances of us needing an emergency day are like, really minimal in that first semester. And I appreciate the fact that maybe there's an advantage to get a syllabus on the first day, but those things could be distributed via the internet and our website prior to, if that's so important to do that, and have a weekend to prepare for that, then we could do it that way. But I know other parents that just, we heard, and this is where our job comes into play. I mean, yes, there was a committee that was put forward to study all this, but we're supposed to be the voice of the community. And I think that the 21st is a much better day to sell to the community for an early start calendar.
Especially for the first year,
Start this
because it's such a big adjustment.
So that's where I'm.
What day
that's
of the
where
week
I'm
do we
at.
start on this year? Is it Wednesday? Tuesday?
It floats every year.
Yeah,
Depends
it
on the
does.
calendar.
Floats,
It's not
right.
set in
And this
stone.
isn't really that much earlier than what we've ever really started school. Maybe
Yeah.
by like a week or so.
Right.
Yeah. It's really, this calendar is really great. I mean, maybe with a couple little caveats that all of us
Yeah.
might, but overall, they've done a great job.
I
I think so
Really
too.
have.
And I would also argue that after because by this time we'll know whether or not we can do a virtual day,
Right.
we'll have the experience of 1 year, maybe things will change and maybe it will turn out, I mean, I would rather see us schedule 4 more days and then make a decision about the day before Thanksgiving or something like that.
Yeah.
But as long as
I'd
people
rather
are
have it
planning
start on the
being here.
17th
Yeah,
and not
start on the
have, and not
17th,
have
yeah.
and not have the day before.
So Rick, you'd be in favor of starting even earlier, is
Yeah.
what I keep hearing.
And then get Thanksgiving. If you want Thanksgiving, start on the 17th then.
That's a good point.
Well, I also look at the letter that we got from the park districts, and the vacation thing. I agree with Mike, starting on the 21st and eliminating that extra day on the 22nd. And just make it a push finals to those last 3 days. And then worry about some of the other days when it gets closer to.
So
Can we
we
take a straw
poll?
Stroll.
Let's stroll through the poll.
How many people support the 18th? This is just straw poll.
Yeah.
Spring 18th? So it's 4 and then,
3.
There's one.
But I don't have any super
my
strong feeling one way or the other. It's all a little give or take game, so.
I'm against moving to an early start calendar. I think you guys all know that. But the community has spoken, so I won't be voting against it. But I think we're going to run up against these kind of issues because we're cramming a semester into a shorter period of time. I would prefer to start on the 21st, but I am not about to vote for a 21st start date because then that gives us no contingency. And I don't like the alternatives of taking a final exam January 8th
No.
or December 26th and just saying, oh, well, we're not going to have any emergency days.
Right, because that was the whole
not the way
purpose
I
of,
planned.
of starting slightly earlier was so that we would be finished before the break. That was the whole premise of this,
Yeah,
so.
but you got to balance that against the 18th. I mean, Mike's right. I can already hear the conversations. Don, why'd you
Why are
vote
we
for a
starting on
calendar
Friday?
start on Friday? That's ridiculous. That's what we're going to hear.
Well, we could start on Thursday.
So-
Well,
That's
maybe
what-
we should
that's what
work
Rick said.
towards air
Start on Thursday.
conditioning a
But
little
but
earlier.
Rick and Deb, I don't want to start early, that early. I mean,
You don't want to make it any earlier.
Let's just start on the 14th, though. I mean, and then we'll have.
Guys start on the 10th,
First
so-
semester. I mean, it's.
Well, really, this, with this calendar, this is what I think the beauty of it. We're really only starting about a week or so earlier than what we have in any other. So this is
Right.
really such a small
Good compromise.
Compromise,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know. I mean,
It will
maybe-
seem large
Maybe we
to-
would have started on the 28th without an early start. I mean, that's a 10-day difference. It's a significant difference in my mind.
Well, you have a straw poll,
My straw
right?
poll actually on this calendar was 5, I think 5.
But, right.
Mine for the 18th, so.
And then we make the real vote, is that our May meeting?
Next week. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Next week is.
But are parent-teacher conferences valued in our district? I mean, is it just?
Oh, they are.
I think
They're
so.
pretty
Just
packed.
say, let's do away with
Yeah.
that? I mean, is that a good idea?
No.
Well, I
That's not what we're saying.
Okay, all right, okay.
I'd say probably 5,000, we have 5,000 parent conferences.
It seems pretty valuable.
So it's very, it is valued.
It is valuable.
Wouldn't mind
It's the
starting
same
on
though concept
Thursday.
of,
Huh?
is there another way to do it if we're spending it in a whole school day and a half a
Right,
school day? on
doing
it?
it right.
If they want
It's
to, like, you know what I
expensive.
mean? What the heck?
Yeah.
And even then, all the parents don't get in on those days.
Perhaps, not to say that we
Right.
And I have no more of the
conferences,
system,
but
I'm
to do it a
done,
different
so.
way.
But you know what you
Technology, I
lived
mean, I
through.
talked to my grandchildren,
It's on Skype,
And
right?
Three
I
times a
know
week.
that I'm pulling my kids out every
You know,
other
so
year.
you have
'cause
that-
we go to
you have the
Michigan.
ability to do
So
that.
every other year, they miss
I know the,
for
58
Thanksgiving.
we're doing in the
Yeah.
evenings. Have we ever
That's
done
why
that?
I asked.
Yeah.
In high school? We do? So then how does it take up a school day then? I'm just
A
confused.
day and an evening.
Day and an
But
evening.
It takes a full day and an evening to accommodate all of the parents.
Yeah.
And that doesn't accommodate
doesn't.
all of the parents.
They still have to
An
schedule their own.
elementary teacher is 25 sets of parents, a high school teacher is 140.
Yeah.
That's
It's a major undertaking.
The other thing I would say is,
Yeah.
as a parent,
But couldn't we
If
do
not-
it
if my child is
multiple
having
evenings?
trouble, I'd like to hear it long before the
The conference,
Yeah.
right.
the
Well,
conference. And I get.
the new thing, you do, right? Parents know it now.
You know it, and you get
Mhm.
notices, you get notices about tests coming up
Right.
and about, I even get notices that my child's doing just great and has been lovely and thank you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. So,
Right.
I think the whole idea of, I agree, I think we should look at parent-teacher conferences, because I think if you're really in trouble, that's kind of late in the game.
Mhm.
And if you're doing well,
You probably already know it. And,
Well, you need a period of time to evaluate the child. I mean,
Well, are you saying that October 4th is late, you think?
that's,
I'm saying that if you start in August
Hmm.
and you are having significant
it's
problems.
7 weeks.
yeah.
in 7 weeks,
Hmm.
I would hope our teachers would reach out to a parent before that.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying necessarily a formal conference, I'm saying they
Yeah.
reach out and they say,
The nice thing about this whole process is that it's caused us to look at a lot of things we've done
that's right,
year after
differently.
year without really thinking too much about it. And so this has all been excellent in terms of examining, our calendar, examining just in sort of
Graduation
going
day.
forward, right? in this parent-teacher conference issue, is this the best way to accomplish the goal of parent-teacher conferences? In studying that going forward, I think that was one of the recommendations of this committee, that be looked at. I think that's an excellent
When is the
suggestion.
open house? You know,
It's
always at the
usually
beginning?
First
you know,
full
like
week.
the Wednesday, the 4th, or,
Yeah,
wait,
back
no,
to
the
school
6th
night.
of September.
That floats too. It's not necessarily the same
Okay.
every year.
So,
I only ask that because no matter when you start where we are, and then you have that open house, I mean, the teachers and the staff are all there on that night too, and so I wouldn't want those the teacher then conferences to be like smacked, too close to that either, so.
I agree.
And
It looks good.
Parents get all hot because it's not
Okay.
air conditioning.
Well,
I mean,
I will, as a kind of wrap things up on this too, I will say that this calendar, as I think Rick maybe mentioned, I mean, eventually you get to a 19, 20, 21, 22, different, and we're going to end up, I mean, there's going to be years where you're looking at a Friday start, or you're looking at a Tuesday start, or you're looking at whatever it is. So I guess, going forward to the next year, is that what's happening? Mark, do you have any feeling for that? Does it move back a day, or does it move forward a day?
I don't think he was really worried about that.
Just kidding. Oh yeah, you'll be doing a little of this.
Yeah.
But to your point, this is just next year. The year after this, it won't be a Friday. It'll be a Thursday or a Monday or a Tuesday or something, right? It's going to be. So this is just.
Well,
No?
I don't,
you know what?
I think it might always, you could make the argument that it would always be a Friday because
Even with leap year?
you're going to, the same number, really, the only difference is going to be with Veterans Day. And frankly, a lot of the schools that have these early calendars have school on Veterans Day now. And that's frankly, some school districts like it because it's like, you have to have a veterans remembrance on those days by law, but a lot of school districts like having school on Veterans Day.
The reason things move, though, is because, I mean, in December of 2017, Christmas is on a Monday. But next year, it's going to be on a Tuesday, right? All right. So eventually, you get to a point where Christmas is occurring on a Thursday or Friday, and then you say, hey, am I taking that whole week off, or am I actually going to have an attendance day on that Monday or Tuesday? And that's going to shift things around at the start of the year, because the goal is to get...
Maybe that year it would give you...
This is like the closest it's ever going to get to Christmas.
87 days.
Right, this calendar. Then it's going to start to shift back.
Right. So eventually, you probably do get to a calendar where the first day of school ends up being on a Monday or a Tuesday or something like that. I mean, right. So this might just be the symptom of the way the days work in this calendar year.
Oh gosh, food for thought.
Any other substantial comments? So how bad for voting in 2 weeks?
Yes.
One other question.
Yes.
Do teachers have enough time to enter their grades? Or when do they have
Before
to have
Christmas.
their grades entered on this calendar?
That's a good question.
I don't know that we absolutely figured that out yet, Rick.
Okay.
I think the sentiment was, though, we'd certainly work with teachers so it's not an incredibly cumbersome task.
That 22nd would be like a marking day then.
Not going to create timelines for them that would be
Burdensome.
Yeah, too
They
much
would
of a
have enough
burden.
time, right?
That would be the expectation, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Master facility. You can turn this, thanks. You can turn this off. Yeah, this isn't a big presentation, it's more of a discussion. Several weeks ago, the leadership team met with our architects from White & Company, and the planning in the meeting was, well, the administration presented its plan, reduced its plan, prioritized its plan, The board came back and prioritized its plan. And frankly, with a couple exceptions, those plans are relatively close. It's a question of really how much is the community going to support. If they're going to support the changes in our facilities, how much and when, and are there things that they're so compelled to have in our system that they're willing to pay additional taxes for, or are they not in the circumstance? So as the meeting went on, it occurred to me that we can have more meetings to prioritize. We can have more meetings to set up a package. But frankly, we really don't know what the public is going to support at this point. Really, we have enough of an idea about what our needs are. We have a sense of what they're going to cost. We've prioritized among ourselves several times, so we think these are important concepts. It's almost as if to continue to go back and prioritize among ourselves doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's an expenditure of time and money that doesn't make a lot of sense. So perhaps we've reached sort of a natural demarcation here, and instead of prioritizing again or trying to create a package again, perhaps now is the time we go out and share this information with the community in a explicit way. And several of us have been involved in seminars and heard presentations about how this is done. It's different than I've ever been involved in. It's sort of asking the public before we actually have a referendum question. And that, well, and initially I thought, how can you do that? But then apparently there is a way to do that legally. And frankly, it does make sense, because you need to find out whether the public will support any question. Just because we would like to change our facilities, if we don't have support and we ask anyway, I've been in those situations in the previous school system. It's not a pleasant thing. So we really have to find out if they're going to support this, and then what are they going to support, and for how much. And we know we have different scenarios. We know there's a scenario where we could basically leave taxes flat, reissue bonds. We know about what that amount is and what that could buy. So we know that scenario's out there. So we also, Hank's coming on board. Ultimately, he's going to have to take leadership of this. It's a good time for, when he's coming on at this point in time, to give him some time to become more familiar with it and the community. I think this is a process that it's not a 2-week-long process. It's a 6 or 8 month process. So there's plenty of time to have these discussions. It just seemed like a natural demarcation point in what we're doing. But I didn't want to just make that assumption. Since you've all been very engaged in this in the last, we've worked on it for 3 years now.
Has it been that long?
Yes, it has, actually.
Time for
It seemed like
so much fun.
this deserves some kind of discussion among you.
I thought that's what we resolved the last time we discussed
I thought we had,
this.
we certainly talked about it. Yeah.
I thought we were going back to getting another plan from the architects.
No.
I did not.
No.
I think we prioritized, and
I think we agreed that we need to survey the community.
yeah.
Okay.
And,
We didn't communicate it very well, apparently.
Oh, there's a lot of information.
Well, that's right. But I
I don't
certainly
think that's what the
agree.
administration understood.
But
And that could very well be,
yeah.
because there was a lot of discussion. But I certainly would agree, it's time now to see what folks in the community think.
Yeah.
I think there was going to be some work done to determine exactly the best way to do that.
And the questions that were asked.
Yeah, we need some.
No, I don't think we
Input.
haven't really started that work yet.
Yeah. I think we were going to get input
So is your point then that you think we should wait for Hank?
Professionals.
No, I think we can start it now.
Okay.
'Cause Hank's, Hank knows what's going on.
Okay.
He's fully aware of this. It's just a matter of getting it started, but
And we're looking at a professional sort of survey? Or is that something for us to?
I would recommend that we work with professionals, yes.
I would
don't think
too.
we have the expertise to do that.
Right.
Frankly, it's not just the survey questions and the survey methods. We have to do it legally.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't be, we can't necessarily advocate for this.
Exactly, right.
I think that's why.
Or
when
we can't
did it-
advocate for this because we have, our legal responsibility is the people that would support it and the people that would not.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to
We
present
just
it as-
educate.
There was
Which is why the Education Foundation paid for it the last time.
Yes. Mhm.
Oh,
Things
really?
well.
They could ask
Plus we were
questions.
short on money.
Yeah.
I thought that it was really, the demarcation point there was once it was something that was put on the ballot, that we're not allowed to,
Well, I
you know,
think-
to be promoting one way or another, just providing information. But up to that point,
I think you have to
if there
be
is-
careful.
even
before
we have a responsibility, I think, to inform the community about the state of our existing conditions, our needs.
Well, that's
and-
part of the
and
education.
and- right, and you know, through that process, obviously, we are trying to convince people that these are our needs. And
Well, even when I'm sorry to interrupt, Mike, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Even when we did the big build-out, which seems so long ago now, there was a video showing how crowded our facilities were, which was made public to everybody. So it is kind of a thin line, but that's part of the education process.
Well, part of it too, I did go and I visited our locker rooms and to take a
Yeah,
look
good for
at
you.
both the schools, and I tell you, I mean, if people were to see,
Yeah.
what their
What
kids
they're
are going
like.
to every day, they might be, surprised that, they're in the condition that they are. They're not in, I think our staff does a wonderful job keeping them clean and
Yes.
and usable, but I mean, in 2016, you'd expect the locker rooms, not to look like they're maybe 50 or 60 years old. too,
1950
just in terms of the
Too bad they don't have
and
smell-o-vision.
understanding that the layouts of those things are not really. I mean, that's
conducive
not how you do that.
to today's education.
So my point is just that those are the kinds of things that we need to share with the community and hopefully get this, get support for doing some things. But to spend more time talking about what we should do or shouldn't do at this point, or how much we should spend or shouldn't spend, is just kind of, I mean, we're just spinning our wheels because
Yes.
we've had those discussions.
John, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that we could ask our legal counsel to provide, guidance as to what we can and cannot do. We shouldn't speculate.
Says
Yes,
our
I
attorney.
No, I'm not the school
He's not the
district's
board's attorney.
Oh, I know.
Well, it's the school
To be clear,
You
but
just,
He's a board member.
yes, 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 but
Neither the twain shall.
good advice.
so do you-
Is that
Okay,
what we
it's
need?
clear, thank you.
Moving on to our reception of visitors, is there anybody who wants to address the board?
say something.
We have a motion.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Terry moves, Julia seconds, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Happy
opposed?
birthday.
We are adjourned.
You betcha.